Today, we are talking about business change impact analysis. We all know the pace and structure of our lives, and the business world today is fast and continually changing. Some experts have described today's world as VUCA, that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. As business analysis practitioners, we are faced with bigger, faster, and more complex changes. And this increases the probability of missing out key business capabilities impacted by a change, hence contributing to project failure and non-realization of stakeholders' expected benefits. Oftentimes, we find that software projects only focus on the tech components of the change with little or no due attention paid to either the people side or the process and structure side of the change. For more matured organizations with organizational change management practice, the people side of change may be well taken care of. To achieve overall business outcomes as we enable change, there is a need to adopt a systematic approach to understand and articulate the impact of a given change to every part of the enterprise, from the people to process to the structure to technology, facilities. And when we understand all of this, we can then produce a holistic plan to actually implement those changes and realize those desired business outcomes. Change impact analysis today, as we'll be talking about it, is not the analysis that takes place as part of the IT disaster recovery plan. It's not also the assessment of to ascertain the complexity of a project or how a change impacts the people, their roles, and their attitudes and culture. That is not the perspective I'm taking today. Rather, today I'll be defining change impact analysis as that set of activities that you do at the beginning of a project to identify all the aspects of an enterprise that will be impacted by a change as you try to address the needs of the stakeholders. Why is it important to look at change from this perspective? So if you see my screen, I'm showing an image that highlights the concept of an enterprise as a system of systems. For those that have science background, that come from a science background, which I do, according to the Le Chatelet's principle, which is also known as the law of equilibrium, a change to a variable of a system will induce changes to other parts of a system until the system returns back to equilibrium. Now, it would step back and try to think through this principle and without where the lens of this principle and look at an organization. We would understand that the enterprise as the systems are interrelated. The components, the different elements of the system are all interrelated. And if you make a change in this area, it would definitely impact some other areas of the organization. So with this understanding, I'll be defining, again, I want to redefine business change impact analysis as the process of evaluating the proposed change in relation to how it would affect the various components of the enterprise system. And this would involve a current state versus future state evaluation of this enterprise system from various perspectives, from the people perspective, the process, the structure, the policies, the data, transactional document, communication channels, looking at it from the business partner point of view, even from the regulator. You are being very holistic in your review. In other words, is those set of tasks you perform to analyze the impact of a change within the enterprise system so as to know who is going to be impacted, whether internally, externally, because knowing all this is going to impact, it's critical for you to implement a successful change. Again, you will notice I'm spending some time to define change impact and business change impact analysis because there are so many applications of this and so many understanding of this, but I'm bringing it back to the enterprise as a system and how it impacts our work as change enablers. So I want to test our understanding of my definition so far. How many of you have been part of a project where a critical element of or component of the enterprise was missed, and this may have resulted in project time and budget overrun, or the entire project not meeting the expected outcomes of some group of stakeholders? I would appreciate if you can share some examples in the chat that we can just interact briefly upon before I continue. Maybe I will start. For me, I was part of a process improvement and re-engineering project. During the process redesign, we did not engage the vendors. And even when we were about to go live with the new process, we did not notify, we didn't communicate the changes to the process to the vendors. And I would take it was the invoice submission process. So we made some changes, embedded some controls in place that affected the way vendors would submit invoice for payment. In order to comply with these new controls and changes to the process, the finance team rejected tons and tons of due invoices. The vendors were disgruntled, and what they did was they stopped supplying goods and services that were necessary for day-to-day running of the services, and this resulted in service disruption. The organization lost revenues, customers were angry, and it was an unpleasant situation for the organization. Okay, I see some examples here. I've been blessed as I work on government projects, okay, for handling delayed timeline. Heidi says brand new software with lots of new features available, yet the business decided to crowbar their previous processes into the new system instead of changing their processes. Okay, good. Now they complain that it doesn't meet their process needs. Oh my goodness, that doesn't sound good. Natalia says didn't engage a policymaker in the requirement process. You missed out on that stakeholder. How you had to redo the component of that solution. Victoria says aiming to improve customers' experience without taking into consideration how the internal process would need to be updated, and it had to impact timeline and project. Obviously, we all understand what I'm talking about at this time. So let's quickly continue to understand why it's important we conduct a change impact analysis at the beginning of our project.